Picture your ancestors through the ages. The strong, dominant men full of testosterone who ruled, explored, and conquered. They lived natural, healthy lives full of competition and masculinity. And then we have modern men, just like Jeffrey. Jeffrey says that it's okay to be weak, that masculinity is toxic. But just look at Jeffrey. Look at the life that he lives, and you know that's not what you want. Adonis. Adonis is a totally confident, masculine, strong man. He doesn't fall for modern society's tests. He takes pride in his masculinity and his strength. The title of this video is interesting, isn't it? Chances are you are the most weakest, submissive, feminine man of your entire bloodline. If you really picture your ancestors, think about your father and his father and his father and his father and his father, and go back hundreds, thousands of years. And then we have us, modern men who overindulge. We watch like fucked up porn. We eat shitty food that we know is not good for us. We play video games and cope and say, oh, well, it's just 1 hour a day. Why are we so weak and submissive? I think the first answer will come from testosterone. Testosterone levels in men have dropped significantly. I was heavily criticized. So there's a big YouTuber called More Plates, More Dates. He has like 2 million subscribers. And he took a video of mine and he reacted to it where I was talking about testosterone. And 100%, I'm not some scientist. I'm not clued up in like the science part of you know it, bro sciencey, which is like, oh yeah, well, testosterone makes you kind of like a man. But these are the kind of guys who know about like SGBH and like what this amino acid, like the sciencey shit, right? So I don't know that much. But he took a video of mine and he reacted to it and he disagreed with a bunch of things that I said, and a bunch of people said like they responded in this critical sort of common sense view with a statement that I made, which was, and I'd be surprised if people actually disagree with this, and you'll probably agree, right? The statement that I made was that if your testosterone levels are around the average of today, in the healthy average, then you're still below what an average healthy man should have. Does that make sense? So the testosterone range in the UK and in most countries, it seems to be between like the I think it's nanograms per deciliter, but the number is essentially from around 300 to around 950. So if you're in the middle of this, if you've got a testosterone level, nanograms per deciliter, whatever the fuck it's measured in, of about 500, you're considered normal, average, and healthy. But testosterone levels were incredibly higher just 50 years ago, never mind 200 years ago. So 500 nanograms per deciliter might be considered healthy by some fat 60-year-old doctor today, but just 50 years ago, it would have been considered very, very low. I believe the average levels used just 100 years ago used to be above 1,000. So their sort of healthy range would have been anywhere from like, this is a guess, 700 to 1.8 thousand. So an average man would have been 1,300. And people today criticize me for saying like, well, we need higher than average testosterone because why the fuck would we ever want to be average? Look around you, walk past 10 men and ask yourself, okay, do I want to be the average of these men? The answer that's screaming in your brain, if you visualize 10 random men that you walk past, the answer in your mind is fuck no. I do not want to be anything like these guys. And I'm not trying to disrespect them or insult them. But the truth is most men are weak, and those same guys, they don't do anything to help themselves. I am all for helping men. I am all for supporting and bringing men up. But the majority of men are fine staying weak. We can't help them. There's maybe 1-2% of guys who are actually thinking to themselves, okay, I want to get stronger. I want to be less feminine. I want to be more masculine. Those are the men that I want to help. Those are the men that are welcomed into my cult. I had a conversation with this big guy in the gym. His name's Giannis. He's like all tattooed up. He's on TRT. And one of the things he said, just like a bunch of things he said actually really like just spiked him in my mind. This is like the most based guy that I've met. And one of the things he said was that low testosterone makes men submissive, and that's where I got the idea for this. He said, this was his energy, his kind of persona. He said, you tell a man to do something who's got high testosterone, he'll say, why? What's in it for me? You tell a man with low testosterone to do something, and he'll say, yes, sir. Sure thing, boss. Is submissiveness a bad trait? Not necessarily, but is it a bad trait for men? Yes. Is it a bad trait for a young man who wants to get stronger? Yes. This doesn't mean to be a disagreeable prick. This doesn't mean to be like arrogant. It doesn't mean to be a bad person. But disagreeable men are the most successful of all. Being submissive will get you to fulfill someone else's goals. Someone else will use you. And the majority of men, including the men on self-improvement, including the men who are trying to become more strong. So literally you, even though it's like, we often think, oh, like weak men are like this. We're talking about ourselves here. You and I are too submissive. You and I are too feminine. You and I have too low levels of testosterone. I remember from the same conversation, this guy, Yanis, he said the reason why he's taking TRT is because everyone, like the conventional advice of hearing about improving your testosterone, everyone always knows, okay, we know what the sort of normal advice is. Improve it in the healthy ways, live the testosterone, like natural, optimized life. And then when you're maybe 30, 35 and your levels start to naturally decline, then get onto TRT. And he said, like, fuck no to that advice. He said, okay, he wants to be on those elevated levels right now. His words were that he wants to have the testosterone, not that his father had, but that his great-grandfather had, which means being far above the normal healthy levels. I don't know where I stand completely on like taking testosterone. It is something that I've somewhat kept in mind. I'm natural right now. Maybe it is something I'd consider. I feel like I've built like a very, very good physique and I don't necessarily need to become like much bigger for my own sort of preference. But at the same time, the benefits to more testosterone is essentially just like becoming more of a man. And of course, some scientist nerd can disagree with me and say like, oh no, well, this TLDR of like fucking a basic explanation. We don't know the real science of that shit, bro, relax. I think another reason why we're becoming way more submissive is because of social norms. Like it's completely normal to be quite passive and timid and wait for daddy. Like, the education system really puts this onto you. And also modern workplaces really puts this onto you. Wait for daddy to do something. Wait for daddy to tell you how to do the work. Do you know how hard it is to become an entrepreneur? Like the hardest part, if you're an entrepreneur, you'll know this. The hardest part to becoming an entrepreneur is just literally just doing the work by yourself. You've got this burning desire. You really, really want to, you need to, and it's just hard to get yourself to do work because we've literally been raised from like age 4, we go into the education system and we've been conditioned in this way that we can only do work when daddy, like when miss, like the fucking teacher tells you to do it, you get set homework. We're so passive and we're conditioned in this way that we're supposed to just stay waiting for instruction. School really is a big part of submissiveness because you're told, okay, if someone's bigger than you, if someone is the authority, the teacher, what's that, head teacher shit. If there is a teacher there speaking, they are the authority. And you should listen to them no matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter what you rationally think about the situation. The teacher is right. You're told to just blindly follow authority. And that makes us feel really safe, really, really safe and comfortable. Lots and lots of comfort. But as always, comfort is the killer of man. And so I ask you, over the last month, how much discomfort have you experienced? How many times have you not waited for the authority to tell you what to do? How many times have you taken matters into your own hand and done work even when you didn't feel like it? Even when no one told you to do that work, because it's very, very difficult. I didn't even want to record this video. Honestly, I was just lying around like sunbathing, just sunning my balls. And I was like, oh yeah, I should record. I've not recorded yet. I didn't want to. It took me like 10 minutes to actually like, oh, come on, yeah, go on, let's just do it. And I'm like 2 years into this journey. I've gotten into the habit of being able to work by myself. I remember it took me more than 6 months to actually learn how to like start working by myself. We're so submissive, so weak, just waiting for instruction, waiting for like the bigger daddy or mummy to tell us what to do. You don't realize how negative that is for your development into becoming a man. And I think the biggest, most significant reason why we are the most submissive generation of men ever is because we are mentally weak. The other things like societal norms and testosterone, I think they play a big part, but I think the biggest part comes from our mental health and also just the way that our brain has been weakened. Modern technology, dopamine, fucking hyperstimulant, like Hamza's old videos. Just scrolling on TikTok, you don't realize like everything we do kind of trains us. Everything we do trains our brain and our body. And so when you sit through and watch like an entire podcast without looking away, without checking the comments, literally just making eye contact with like the podcast. If it is a like YouTube video podcast, right? It's an hour and a half, or maybe it's videos like this, which aren't edited, it's just me and you. When you sit through and watch like this for 10, 20, 30 minutes, you're training your brain to maintain that focus for longer and longer and longer. When you can't sit through this and you need to go onto Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat for a little bits of dopamine, and you scroll through Instagram and TikTok and it's like literally every 1 to 2 seconds you're seeing like a new piece of information. Think about how fucky that is for your brain to see new information about people in your tribe, especially like attractive, high value people, especially like attractive women. Your brain processes all that shit and it starts training it to be able to only focus for like 1 to 2 seconds at a time. You can focus for 1 to 2 seconds at a time, and we're complaining about being submissive when we literally have like, I think that it's the fact of like we have an attention span literally less than goldfish now. I believe the data, like I read this study once, it was like we used to be able to have like focus and hold attention for 15 to 20 minutes, and now it's about 2 to 3 seconds. So about every 2 to 3 seconds, you're not consciously aware of a lot of this, but about every 2 to 3 seconds, your mind goes elsewhere. That's why it's very, very hard, maybe for you, for a lot of people, to really just read a book. Most people don't read books anymore. Reading books is literally the secret to success of life. You want like one tip from me if you want to become a success, start reading. Simple as that. But there is literally, we're on a self-improvement channel. This video is being, you can look at the view count, right? The majority of people watching this are into self-improvements, into productivity, improving their lives, wanting to become successful. I guarantee at least 90% of the views that you see underneath this video are with people who don't read because they can't get the benefit out of it. And they'll cope. Maybe it's you and you'll fucking cope so easily. Well, reading's not even, shut the fuck up. Reading's not even that, shut up. Reading is the single best thing you can do to become more successful. Easily. And the majority of people don't read. They make up all these lies, I don't have time, it's not that good, whatever. Oh, I'd rather watch a book, so shut the fuck up. The real reason is that they can't get the value from reading because their brain wanders too often. How about you take a level of accountability and honesty right now? If that is you, if you don't consistently read, if you haven't read for at least 5 hours over the last week, be totally honest, have you? Because if you haven't, chances are it's because you literally can't read. You need to hold your hand up and literally, I know it's fucking weird, hold your hand up and say, yeah, I can't read. How fucked is that I learned this skill when I was 5 years old in school and I can't even read because of the damage that I've done to my brain, because I'm making my brain, my mind weaker with modern technology. I am so sorry that I negatively affected your attention span with the videos that I was producing about a month ago, 2 months ago. I was making hyper edited videos because I thought they would perform better on YouTube, up until it fucking hit me I've become what I hate. I started this YouTube channel to criticize modern life. I started it to teach that the most important lesson I wanted to teach was dopamine detoxing, because that's what transformed my life. The purpose of this channel literally was for me to make some online income so I could travel around Thailand whilst just teaching people to take a step back from social media, video games and porn. Pretty much. That's why I started this channel. I never realized how big it would become, but I lost sight of my purpose. My brain got weak and I saw more of the numbers and the rewards that could be made. And so I told my team, start editing the videos way more. Include loads of sound effects and little animations and stuff. And guess what? It fucking worked. The videos were doing incredibly well. On YouTube, you get all this data to see how well a video is doing. I did a lot of research on Mr. Beast, the king of YouTube, the guy who's growing so much, Mr. Beast. He's got 100 million subscribers and he's got a bunch of different channels, total 250 million subscribers. His videos perform incredibly well. He spends millions on each video. We were getting the same data as him. I set my sights on 100 million subscribers 5 years from now. And I have full confidence, whether or not you think it's possible or something, I had full confidence we were going to hit it. And then I realized, I took a step back and I was like, wait, what the fuck am I doing here? I have went against my purpose. I've went against my mission. My mission was to make men stronger, not weaker, not to make them more addicted to my videos. I'm proud to say that I'm literally the one creator on YouTube who actively tells you not to continue watching my videos. There is a point that my videos won't help you anymore. And at that point, it is your responsibility to stop watching and to then prioritize being in the real world, because you've gotten to the point where self-improvement's become somewhat automatic. It's always nice to get a sense of repetition. So that's why I continue watching videos by the YouTuber first, man. It's always even if you're going to hear the same thing over and over again, that repetition does help. But there is a point when you're not necessarily going to need to hear it from me anymore, that you'd be better off reading books, and I want you to do that. Of course, I want my YouTube channel to grow. Of course I do. But as I'm becoming more and more of a masculine man, I'm really trying to become more masculine. I started off way more feminine than I wanted to be. I'm really understanding the importance of purpose and mission and fulfilling meaningful work. And I realized the thing that I've always cared more about is literally just impact and influence, leadership. I want to lead you to a better life. And there's going to be a point when my videos won't be doing that much for you. At that point, you've crossed through the funnel, you've been introduced to self-improvements, you know about it, but now it's not so much self-improvement, it's more so oh yeah, well, you're really into fitness, so you're going to read this book on bodybuilding, and you really want to improve your health, so you're reading this book on the best diet to have. I'm kind of your introduction to self-improvements, and I really hope that I've been doing a good job on that. You see, this kind of thinking, this purpose, this mindset, this mission, this is how we become stronger. This is how we become less submissive. When we think of a big mission in our mind, the big mission, and then we have a good purpose behind it. Purpose is a weird thing that a lot of people talk about. Purpose is the reason why. Why is that your mission? So the big mission for me is to help young men improve themselves, help young men become more like Adonis, the ultimate man. The purpose, the why, is because I've lived that life of a Jeffrey, and I feel I have the answers to help so many young men. That's my purpose, and it fuels my mission. Now I don't feel weak anymore. Now I don't feel submissive anymore. I feel strong. I feel direction. I feel strong. I feel I've got direction in life. I feel so fulfilled, so happy with myself. So if you're wondering, just to conclude the point that I made, okay, there's going to be a time that you don't need to watch my videos. I had this random thought, what if we make a trade? What if as a form of a final goodbye of me and you are essentially shaking hands, oh, you're introduced to self-improvement, that's awesome. Maybe you don't need to watch my videos anymore. invite one of your friends into the cult. Before you leave, before you feel like you don't need to watch my videos, send the link to a couple of friends. Maybe one of them will like really take self-improvement seriously. This way, my channel keeps growing. You've already reached like the best part of like self-improvement because you've gotten out of the beginner stage. You know about it. Now you know about mental health and fitness and physical health, confidence and discipline and all the things that we want to improve on. The pursuit of becoming less submissive, more masculine, it's a very, very fulfilling thing. I hope you make great progress in that. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.